The old days of Marvel Studios locking in actors for 6, 8, 9, maybe even 12 appearances are long gone. Marvel Studios' own Kevin Feige confirms they're not going to do this anymore with anybody or anything. They're only going to offer short-term deals from this point on out. And this is to, well, I would say to their benefit more than anybody else's. When it came to Marvel Studios Phase 1 and locking in actors, it was still an unsure thing, so signing an actor on for 6 appearances for a lower cost was much more affordable because it wasn't a surefire thing. It could have been a failure and everybody's career gets hurt more by it than having their careers made. So it makes sense that they wanted to try to lock people in for long-term contracts in case it was a success, and then they would benefit by having to spend less money in the future re-signing them after it was a huge success. We saw this with Robert Downey Jr. After Iron Man 1, he wanted more money for a few more appearances including Avengers and Age of Ultron, and they gave it to him. But the Avengers was so successful when it came to renegotiations, he wanted even more money and then a back-end deal, which ended up making him like $50 million, and they spent a lot to secure him for more additional films. Same thing happens with Chris Evans, same thing happened with other actors. Now at the same time, you look at the modern MCU and how they're approaching projects, and how the MCU has changed where instead of dropping a sequel every 2 to 3 years, sometimes it's taking 6 or 7, you have to look at your own spending habits and go, we can't lock an actor in for 9 appearances if they're going to have an appearance that's a substantial role or a supporting role or a main role every 4 years. We can't lock them in for 30 years. It's just not allowed in Hollywood. That's not how it works. They have to be freed up for other projects. They can't say you can't go work on these times just in case. It's logistic deals. So when Kevin Feige says that they're not going to do that anymore, you should believe it because it's not feasible to do it anymore. Especially at the pace that the MCU is growing, because sometimes they could sign an actor for, let's say, 6 appearances, and they end up using like 2 of them, and then they sit on it for a while, and then the contract might start to expire, and they want to renegotiate, and things change, and all that. So it's always one of these things that's constantly changing, and you never know how you're going to approach it. And also, what if a project fails? Like, hypothetically, I'm not saying it's going to, I think it's going to be huge, but what if Blade doesn't do good? Then you locked an actor in for like an additional 8 appearances, but people didn't resonate with that franchise. Now you're screwed. Do you get rid of the actor, but then you have to pay him out? You're wasting even more money, so I get what they're saying. So it makes sense from a business standpoint and from an actor standpoint to not sign long-term contracts.